Right, welcome back to the Jackwood Football Podcast. You're probably thinking, what have I just switched on? This is the League One Awards night with myself, Jack, and Tom. Tom, how you doing, mate? Are you excited? We've made it to the end of the season. It's our awards night. How are we?
I feel a bit overdressed, mate.
So do I. I do. It's a bit tight, actually. I do need to lose a little bit of weight over the summer because this is getting a little bit tighter than it was last year. But we're there. We are there.
You've gone blazer and I've gone for a Pompey tie, so I think we complement each other nicely in terms of the attire and the dress code, don't we?
I think we do. You said, do I take the tie off? Do I keep the tie on? I said, well, I've got the jacket, you've got the tie. Together, we've got a suit. It's just on separate bodies. That's how we're going to go with today. It's really special. It is our end of season awards. If you've been following myself and Tom on this channel, on his channel, maybe just separately when I do my roundups and all the other content we do, but together we have followed this season. We've done reflections every single month. It's been really good fun, and we've sort of followed the campaign in its lots of different pathways, really enjoyed it. And I thought, what could we do? What's the perfect way of looking at the entire season? Let's do an awards night. So we have dressed up. We are slightly overdressed. But if you watch this, I'm thinking on a Sunday night, just think that we did this on a Thursday evening looking like this. So, you know, it feels slightly strange, but we're going to roll with it. We've got lots to get through. Team of the season, but not team of the season as you know. It's going to be team of the year, if you like, with one club. We've done our separate team of the seasons on this channel. Disappointment of the season, not a great award. Surprise package of the season. Again, that's going to be quite interesting. Player of the season, signing of the season, game of the season, bottle of the season. We've got lots to get through. Myself and Tom have discussed this before we've hit record, but we've got lots of different arguments that we're going to break down, and then we've got to find one club or one player or one manager to give the award to at the end of every single section. Does that make sense? Are you following? I hope you are.
I'm following.
That's good. And that's nice, because we did have our phone call about it. So if you're not following, Tom, we're completely screwed. If you did enjoy the content, please make sure you leave a like and subscribe on the road to 5.2 thousand subscribers for Tom as well. Go with 4-0 written all over it.
I remember when you were on 1,000, son. I remember when you were on 1,000.
This time
less
last
than
year,
1,000.
I know. This time last year, we were just over 1,000, and me getting in a suit would be less weird. At least I'm doing it with more people watching now. That probably makes it more weird thinking about it. Anyway,
it's fine.
Let's not mess about. Let's get straight into it. Beginning with our team of the year. This is not the team of the season. This is a club, if you like. Tom, there's some candidates. Of course, there are. We've had some fantastic clubs competing in Sky Bet League One this season. But who have you gone with? I think we know the obvious names. But Tom, run us through some of the candidates and who you put forward.
I think there's maybe kind of just a top tier of candidates, isn't there? That top kind of three crop teams of Sheffield Wednesday, Ipswich and Plymouth. I've gone for Plymouth. I think the simple fact that they have been... I had a little look at this, and this is something we didn't discuss before we started recording, but something I saw today on Twitter is they've been top of the league for the most months of any other team. I think it's pretty much every single month bar a couple, bar the first one, which, would you believe it, Pompey were actually top of the league for, and then literally every other month pretty much, bar one or two, Plymouth have been the league leaders for. So for some people to sit there and go they don't deserve it, I think you need to give your head a wobble. Obviously, we do need to mention Ipswich, because there's the argument for Ipswich as the best team of the season in terms of, is it the best on paper? Of course, they've had the most nominations for the majority of people's teams of the season, and Jack mentioned we had those on this channel, and I know people have been doing them up and down the division. You think about some of the key talents, maybe in those areas, Ipswich, you think top goal scorer Conor Chaplin, you think Leif Davis, you're thinking maybe shouts for Sam Moore's in the middle of the park and some of the contributions that people like Wes Burns have given to their team, but maybe a team of stars that you could go, they've done really well. Plymouth have just been there for the whole season. They have been the consistent team. Their record at home part this season has been absolutely ludicrous, and I don't think we'll see a better home record of any other division in any other League One season, should I say. Not having a great start, are we? But we'll run with it. And also, they finished over 100 points, which I think for League One is pretty unheard of. And I don't know the last time we've had a League One team finish over 100 points. I think it's been a little while since we've had that. It's Manchester City-esque from Plymouth this season. They have been the team to beat, and they've been the team that haven't been beaten on many occasions. I know Ipswich have lost less games, but Ipswich have also drawn far more than Plymouth have this season. They're champions of League One, and they are rightfully the team of the season.
Yeah, we did agree on team of the season. We agreed on Plymouth. I think you can't have the league winners not be team of the season. No. They've been relentless. When I think of Plymouth, I just think relentless. I think of sometimes the best way of looking at it, and it's not the best way, but the way I looked at it was looking back at some of my previous titles of the roundups. Did I ever say that Plymouth were going to have a bit of a wobble? Were they ever sort of on the verge of a bit of a disaster or a collapse? We know Wednesday had a bit of that. Ipswich did have a moment around the Christmas period. But for Plymouth, it's been relentless from game one and minute one, but game one until the end of the season. They've been absolutely brilliant. They've been chased by some fantastic clubs. And we speak about Ipswich and we've given them so much credit, and so we should. They have been very good. But to stay on top and not be chased and hunted down by Ipswich and to still on top of the table at the end of the season says so much. So I think Plymouth, we can both agree, the first award, Team of the Year, does go to Plymouth Argyle. Congratulations to them. They certainly do deserve it. So let's move on to disappointment of the season. From the heights of Team of the Year to the disappointment of the season. Not one that many club wants to pick up. In fact, I don't think any club wants to be picking this one up at the end of the season. But unfortunately, we've created the award, which means we've got to give it out to someone. I'll start by going through some of the candidates this time. Forest Green Rovers, I think, and we joked and we laughed on the phone earlier. I said with Forest Green, they just haven't been very good, have they? I don't think you can put a side that have come rock bottom, relegated early on, and as early as they were. It just has been a very, very bad season for them. Were there ever massive expectations of them staying in the league after losing their manager, Rob Edwards, and really key players that got them into League One in the first place? Of course, that's a massive blow, and they had to deal with that. They tried to recruit, but ultimately, I think breaking up a really successful League Two side and then throwing it into League One, it was going to be a real challenge with a new manager, of course, at the helm as well. Pompey and Oxford have been put forward. Now, of course, I think our own emotions with our football club have come to consideration when speaking about both Oxford and Pompey and putting them in this category. Oxford, of course, we've been over the last couple of years very, very pleased with top six chases and, of course, playoff campaigns this year for whatever reason. Lots of reasons that we won't go into in real detail in this one have cost us nearly a place in League One next season. Thankfully, we did stay up in the end, but an atrocious season and one to forget. And with Pompey, I'll come to you, Tom, with Pompey now. Look, I've given my thoughts on Oxford in a quite brief way. For Portsmouth, of course, the challenge and the expectation and the hope before going into every season is that beloved promotion out of this horrible league that we're doing an award show for. This season, though, you're staying in League One, and again, you felt it was disappointing.
Yeah, and you gave a great synopsis of it on the video that we did on 4-0 over it the other day, actually, in terms of you've got the ambitions before you go into the season. Pompey always favourites to get promoted. And we're now heading into our 7th season of League One football, and that's just simply not good enough. It's quite a shame, isn't it, really, that both our two teams have made it in with a real shout of being disappointment of the season. And we've been doing all these reflections and sitting down every month and going through it. And the majority of the time, I know I've probably been on a little bit more of a roller coaster with my team than perhaps you have in terms of hitting the heights.
I've just been down the entire time.
Well, not quite the entire time, because I remember we were a little bit jovial for the first couple about Oxford, weren't we? But
yeah, maybe.
Perhaps it's clutch at straws a little bit, but I remember sat here and I think I said the sky's the limit. That might have been one of the titles.
The title.
We went big on that one way too early, didn't we? So I think it's very disappointing. And there you go. Disappointing is the word to describe the disappointment of the season. The only reason why I probably wouldn't is because, I mean, if we'd stayed in the position that we were in January 15th and staring down the barrel of League Two football, which has become the phrase that I've kind of coined and many others have coined in terms of talking about Pompey, then we might be having a different conversation. But I think Forest Green, luckily, pit both Pompey and Oxford to the post of this one. MK Dons as well. I don't know if you mentioned them already, but from third place last season to relegation, they've sacked two managers and it just didn't really work, did it, Jack, this season? It's
been a bit of a disaster. Someone's been describing it as a footballing experiment gone wrong, and it does feel like that with MK Dons. We've now got their manager that started the season with them and had such a successful campaign last year, finishing third. I think last season, MK Dons were the team to beat, obviously, other than the two sides that went up. But third place, they were playing some fantastic football. And the quality and the brand of football that MK Dons are playing under Liam Manning was absolutely fantastic. Like to Scott Twine, Harry Darling, two players that we mention every time because they left the football club for championship moves in the summer, and replacing them was always going to be the big task. And they did replace them. The question being, were they going to replace them well? The answer, clearly, as they now find themselves in League Two next season, probably not. They brought a lot of players in, and it was always going to be a task of, we've definitely got the quality here, can we gel them? And of course, question marks over some of the quality. Of course, clearly don't have that much or enough to stay in the league. But I think there is a lot in that squad of potential talent. It's whether or not you can ooze that talent out in a quick enough way to be successful in the current season and in the present. And clearly for MK Dons, they really struggled at that. Never gelled, never clicked. 2 managers down and a relegation. Tom, I think we can agree it's not a nice award to give out, but I think MK Dons, considering where they were last season, a relegation, poor throughout, you probably would say it's the most disappointing side this year.
Yeah, sorry MK Dons, they are officially crowned the disappointment of the season here on the Jack Ward Football Podcast. There you go.
So let's move on to surprise package. Tom always laughs when I say surprise package. I don't know why. Maybe this just got a mind.
Just tickles me a little bit. Just tickles me. Sorry.
I think it's the word package. Don't know. Is there a surprise team of the season?
No, surprise package. And I'm like, sorry. It's not appropriate for YouTube, but it's just me being a little bit childish. Jack, crack on.
It's
sorry.
Fun. It's fun. The demographic allows us to make those sort of on the edge jokes. We've got a few to choose from as well. Tom, we'll come to yours in just a second. We'll start with mine, Exeter. I think they've had a fantastic season, and the difficulties they've had to face along the way. If you just said to me, I don't know where Exeter are going to finish. Let's say at the start of the season, you said they lose their manager, Matt Taylor, who was essential and has been essential for them as a player and, of course, as a manager, got them into League One. You told me they would lose him in the middle of the season at the start of the year, where a lot of people already weren't fully convinced about their potential status at the end of the year. I think I'd probably be like, yeah, they're definitely going down. And it's always a little bit nerve-wracking and a little bit dangerous to say that a side just getting straight back up automatically goes down. I made that mistake a couple of times in my predictions, but I think Exeter, I was a little bit concerned about that. But they dealt with it so well. I thought that January window was fantastic. Dimitri Mitchell coming in was a fantastic addition. I just think Exeter have had to deal with difficulties, but they still ended in a really, really healthy position. And they're safe, and they were safe really throughout the entire year. I don't think there was any point, so I don't know about you, where I thought Exeter were going to get relegated. They were smooth and sailing throughout the entire campaign, and that I think says so much about them in the end, finishing in 14th, so nothing to worry about. And like I said, difficult obstacles in there, they saw through them and dodged them in fantastic style and dealt with everything that came their way brilliantly. So I'd say Exeter for me. Tom, who have you gone with?
Yeah, just on Exeter quickly, I think, as you quite rightly say, for a team coming up from League Two to be looking like they're in with a shout with a top 10 finish in League One the subsequent season tells you everything you need to know, really. I know ultimately it's a little bit more mid-table than Exeter perhaps would have liked given their position at parts this season. The only other two that I would probably give a mention to are Burton Albion, given their sort of, and we're talking about losing a manager and the circumstances surrounding that, but obviously their start to the season under Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank was, I don't think they won a game for a long time, did they? Yeah, it was what, sorry?
A nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, it was. And for, I don't know how, you talk about failing upwards, but for him to be involved at the England camp now, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, after almost completely capitulating Burton so early on in the season, I think it's a little bit of a questionable one, but there we go. Anyway, let's move on. Sorry, Jimmy, if you're watching, that's probably not a particularly nice way to talk about you, but there we go. Exeter, yes, definitely. Cheltenham is a shout I'd like to make. And I think it's probably up there for the one that we'll probably go for in the end. But for them to, and I think this may be, we've talked about the start of the season with those two clubs that we just mentioned there, but perhaps for Cheltenham more towards the end, they had a period, and it maybe sticks out in my mind because we were one of the teams that did it to them, but they lost 4-0 to Barnsley, and then they came to Fratton Park and lost 4-0 as well. And at that point, I remember Matt saying in his video that, we need to be really careful about what we're doing here because we could be very quickly descending into League Two chaos. For them to sort themselves out, steady the ship as best they did, for Alfie May to continue to score, and I remember the worldie against Peterborough, and he has single-handedly helped them through that mess. And I remember him whipping his shirt off at MK Dons and celebrating in front of the travelling fans, and that was just a brilliant story for Cheltenham, considering they were in a really precarious situation, and it was looking quite dangerous for them at one point this season, particularly after coming off, an 8-0, a -8 goal difference in the space of just a couple of days for two games for them. You're kind of looking at that and thinking, what's that going to do to confidence? What's that going to do to morale in the group? And actually, no, sorry, Joe Morrell doesn't play for Cheltenham, but you know what I mean. Sorry, I had to get a little one-liner in there for an award ceremony show, didn't we? For to see what that could have done in terms of knocking the confidence of not just the support base, but the players and the manager. They have resurrected themselves brilliantly from what was a difficult situation, and I think for that reason, surprise package of the season for me would go to Cheltenham Town.
So next up, our player of the season, probably one of the biggest awards we do, but we've got to do player of the season. Of course we do. We hinted at our player of the seasons in the different team of the season videos that we did across those 2 different videos that we put on this channel. But Tom, we've gone with this player because he has just been phenomenal, especially at the latter end of the season. Talk about players stepping up. Conor Chaplin, you know more about him than I do with his time at Portsmouth. And then he moved on to Barnsley, now at Ipswich, back in League One. So he's doing a fantastic job, and he really has stepped up. He's thrived on the Kieran McKenna, the system that Kieran McKenna uses, and the fact that Conor Chaplin just slots in there perfectly. The numbers, I think 26 goals this season for not an out-and-out striker, is just incredible. Tom, Conor Chaplin, he is going to be our player of the season, and he just does deserve it.
Yeah, it does, massively deservingly so. I mean, we had quite a lengthy conversation during our teams of the season about Conor Chaplin, and yeah, I think he's been an absolute blessing to watch, and he's been unbelievable. There's not really many more superlatives out there to use to talk about that little man, and I say it again that he's the biggest mistake we ever made at Portsmouth Football Club, particularly of recent times, and we've made quite a few big ones, was letting Conor Chaplin go. And I know there's probably, the truth is that he maybe wanted to go and go and better his career, and look what he's done now. He's going to be a Championship player next season, and to be at a club like Ipswich, to do that and to be back in the Championship after such a long wait for those Town fans as well, it's going to make that even more special. I'd say he's their player of the season, and he is, and he's wiped the floor with the majority of the awards there. He's been absolutely done in terms of League One, and how he didn't get that player of the season award, I do not know.
This is the official League One. This is the official League One award anyway. So he won't worry about that. You know, he's not worried about that. He's just worried about this one anyway. Exactly. Yeah. So he's not concerned about that.
Pompey youth product that we absolutely love to bits here still, and I believe he is still a Pompey boy, and he's still a Pompey fan. He's had Championship experience before, but we said it before on the video here on the channel that this has been the season of his career, and he's right at the pinnacle and the peak of his power at the moment. He's quite simply unstoppable. I'm so proud of him, and I think he's only going to go on and do even better things next season, and I hope he absolutely tears up the Championship.
I think he will. Conor Chaplin, he is our player of the season this year. So let's move on to signing
it's all very
of
official
the season
tonight, isn't it?
It is. Normally we sort of just chat absolute rubbish in between the different segments, but I thought we'd try and keep it as professional as we can. So signing of the season, again, I keep saying this with everyone we've done, but there are lots of names. In fact, signing of the season was one where we put this in there and we thought, this is going to be a challenge. How are we going to work this one out? Because there's a lot of transfers in League One, and sort of work out and remember who joined in which summer and which January is always a bit of a challenge. But we think we've got a really good bunch there. If we do miss anyone out, of course, this isn't actually the official award tonight. So let me know in the comment section down below. Let us know, and we can sort of hear and probably pick the ones that you selected, the ones that we've forgotten. Hopefully we haven't. Hopefully we've got the majority of the correct names down here. We have gone with, and we won't purposely leave the one that we have selected as the award till last. Conor Bradley on loan from Liverpool. Of course, he's Alton this season. Fantastic job at right back. Banny Mumba, another right back. Of course, on loan from Norwich at Plymouth this year. James Trafford. An asterisk next to his now. Of course, he was there at the second half of last year for Bolton, but he rejoined in the summer on loan from Manchester City. George Hurst. He's on loan as well. They didn't buy him. They bought Broadhead, who also has a shout. Of course, those two happened in January. But the one that we've gone with, and look, I think this player, and again, you can go and watch the other videos we've done on this left back for Ipswich, being Leif Davis. We've sort of said so much about how his goal contributions at left back are just simply phenomenal. In League One, to have this type of attacking output for a defender, and okay, it comes down to where that Kieran McKenna wants his side to play. If you look at his average positions this season, he's almost playing as a left winger. He's absolutely full throttle on that left-hand side. He plays very, very high up, very high and wide, and that's why he's got such fantastic numbers. Tom, Leif Davis joined, of course, for £1 million in the summer from Leeds United. It was a big money move, especially for League One, but when you look at £1 million, you look at the money that was spent, you'd have to say it probably was worth it.
The best £1 million, I think, that's been spent in League One this season, hands down. Yeah, he's Leif Davis, has been absolutely brilliant, mate. 14 assists in League One this season, 132 key passes in those two categories. That is the most of any other player in those departments this season in League One. Not only, though, as we mentioned, does he dominate it in terms of stats, is also his contributions to the team. you can see why he's a £1 million player, and I think he's going to be even one of their prized assets in the Championship next season. So, I think I echo absolutely everything you've just said about Leif Davis, and what a signing he has been and proved to be. One of those big ones that kind of you stick or twist with. Does it work? Does it not work? But absolutely, that has completely pulled through for Ipswich, and they'll be delighted they've got him. I know he's tied down to a pretty lengthy contract as well, so hopefully they can keep him for the Championship next season. But yes, Leif Davis is the one I'd go for, and I am 100% in agreement with you on that one. But as we said, a lot of different honorary mentions that you've mentioned there, which I think there is a list that you could add to there. But and I'm sure people will be in the comments, but that would be the one I'd go for.
So moving on to manager of the season. Again, quite a few names. I think we naturally look at the top end of the League One table and look at some of those managers, and so we should. Tom, we almost did this. I think we did a manager of the season, or your manager for your team of the season, and we put forward McKenna, and you actually put forward Michael Duff. But of course, Schumacher, which just won the league with Plymouth. We'll touch on who we've agreed on and who gets the award. I think we probably do know who's going to win it. But Michael Duff, he deserves a mention. Darren Moore as well. Darren Moore finished in third. We sort of missed out Darren Moore. Not many mentions there, but I think with Darren Moore, there's a little bit of this sort of idea that Wednesday, the size of a football club, maybe not as much investment, but certainly there is quality in that side, and there is a real expectation to get out of League One. They might do it during the playoffs. This is being recorded the day before their first leg against Peterborough, so we'll have to wait and see what happens there. I think, and I'm going to put my neck on the line, don't want to bring too much negativity into this awards night, but if he doesn't get promoted through the playoffs, second time of asking, I fear for Darren Moore at Wednesday. I do, but
really?
I just do a mention. I do. I don't. I think the fans will definitely be pushing that. And you look at.
They were last season a little bit, weren't they? So
they were, and parts of this season when it started, when the bottle was thrown in. That again, we'll come into the bottle award later on. But when that was thrown in,
that's going to be, Jack.
I don't know. Also, haven't spoiled it. When we look at that, there are a little bit of a Darren Moore issue. I think he has done well. He finished on 96 points, and that just shows how unlucky it is that, of course, two sides above finished with more points, and that's how competitive this league is. But Michael Duff, of course, at Barnsley, and Kieran McKenna at Ipswich, both of them have done fantastic jobs. I think Duff, the way that he's got this Barnsley side playing is brilliant. Move from Cheltenham to Barnsley, a little bit of a question mark over whether or not that was going to be a bit of a jump, moving to Oakwell and the expectation after being recently relegated at Barnsley. But of course, that was never a problem. He's come in, he's got the likes of Cole, Connell, Phillips, Herbie Gain, etc. Anderson at the back, playing some fantastic football. And I think he's made Oakwell a fortress, which would be key, hopefully, as they go into their playoff campaign. And with McKenna as well. But Tom, you've gone with, and we've both agreed to go with, Stephen Schumacher as our manager of the season. He won the league with Plymouth. He's done a fantastic job. Of course, he wasn't a manager, hasn't been a first-team manager before until he got this gig. Of course, he took over from Ryan Lowe, who left last season for Preston. He's now taken the reins. He took the reins last season. He took them back on again this year, and it's just gone better and better. Who'd have thought it? Plymouth fans will be saying they'd have thought it, but he's now going to be a League One winning manager.
Yeah, it's for me with Schumacher, it's more of what a fantastic continuation of the project that he was already involved in, rather than what a brilliant thing he's come in and just. It's not like he's completely overhauled what he's doing. All he's done is fosters and nurtured an idea for Plymouth to eventually get up into the Championship. And I think he said that in a couple of his post-match interviews when they're on the pitch and celebrating. He's going, this job started before I was in charge, and all we've done is just guided it on its way. And I think it's just testament to the kind of the long-term vision of Plymouth. I know that having been there many times, that stadium improvement works have been done on their main grandstand that's looking fantastic now. And I remember the first couple of times when we started having our meetings in the League 2 days that was getting a lot of work done to it, and now it looks fantastic. And then on the pitch, they've got everything spot on as well. So I think Stephen Schumacher's had absolutely everything to do with the job at hand, and he's done a brilliant job at doing it this season. And, to win League One, he has to be manager of the season. The only argument for Ipswich, and I know you mentioned him there, but having nearly double Plymouth's goal difference, but to still win the league, and with the competition and perhaps even lack of funding that Plymouth fans will point to that Stephen Schumacher's been up against this season with regards to some of the lucrative budgets that you could look at elsewhere, I think he's done an awesome job, and it's outstanding from him, and he'll be absolutely delighted, as Plymouth fans are with him, and I bet they're very much looking forward to Championship football next season.
So let's move on to game of the season. Again, like I said, we have been, I think, well, I say joyed. Some of us have been on the wrong end of these results, but we've had some fantastic games of football in League One this season, as we always do. We'll run through a couple of them, leaving the one till last. 6-0, Ipswich win over Exeter. That was a promotion-winning game. I mean, talk about getting the job done and winning a game when it matters. Sometimes we go, win a game to win the league, win a game to get promoted. You sort of get a little bit edgy, a little bit nervy. Not Ipswich, 6-0. I think they were 4-0 up in about 30 minutes. It was absolutely brilliant. Get the job done ASAP. Accrington 4, Burton 4, an 8-goal thriller. 3-3 between Sheffield Wednesday and Pompey on the opening day. Talk about opening League One with style. I had to put this one in there. 2-1 win over Ipswich, Oxford. One of the only wins we've had this season. But in the fog, nobody could see anyone. Some would say that's probably why Oxford got a result on the day. Accrington 1, Pompey 3 in the snow. We've also added a little bit of weather in there for the weatherman that are watching. There might not be, that there could be, I don't know. But the winner of this game of the season tier category. The winner of this game of the season category goes to Charlton and Ipswich, who are part of a 4-4 draw. Tom, that is incredible. I know there's a 4-4 draw with Accrington and Burton, but a 4-4 with Charlton and Ipswich, and the just order of the goals, the craziness of the game, it was just incredible. So our game of the season, we've had some fantastic ones as previously mentioned, but we've gone with Charlton and Ipswich 4-4. Of course, we had a 4-4 with Accrington and Burton, but this one, the way the goals went in, I was following this with my Charlton friend who's a fan of Charlton on the underground. If you've been in the underground before in London, you'll know that the internet, there isn't anything, believe it or not. It's underground. You don't get any Wi-Fi down there or any 4G.
On the Jubilee line, on one part of the Jubilee line, you do get 4G.
And when the light comes, you might get a little bit because you're outside. But for the majority of it, you're not going to get any internet. And the Charlton fan who I was with, he was like, yeah, the game's over, Jack. Don't worry about it. And it came back in and it was 4-4. And he went, I won't say exactly what he said because that it definitely can't be put on YouTube. But he said, I'll paraphrase, no way. And it was 4-4. It was 4-4. And when the internet had cut out on the underground, they were 4-2 down or 4-1 down going into injury time. The game finished 4-4. Tom, you can give us a bit more detail on it. That was just incredible. The timeline of that was just, I mean, it was mind-blowing.
So, would you believe it? It was actually 1-0 Ipswich at half-time, right?
8 goals this game. 8 goals, 1-0 at half-time.
So 7 of them came in the second half. And so it's 1-0 Ipswich at half-time. It's then 2-0 Ipswich by 52 minutes, Tyrese John Jules. Then Charlton get back into it with Raksaki on 63 minutes. Then it's 2-2 by 76 minutes. Alfie Morgan bags a goal. Next time a goal goes in is for Ipswich. Freddie Ladapo scores in the 91st minute to make it 3-2. Followed by 4-2 for Sam Morsey in the 94th minute. And if you're sat there as an Ipswich fan, 4-2 away from home on 94 minutes, you're thinking, right, lovely, what a way to win it. 2 injury time winners. Terrell Thomas goes and scores a 96th minute, not even an equaliser, what's looking like a consolation. And then up pops George Dobson, of all people, one of Charlton's standout performers this season, with a 99th minute equaliser. So the game finishes 4-4. I'm not being funny, Jack, but that is absolutely outrageous. And
4 goals in injury time.
Charlton had 9 shots on target. 9 shots, sorry. Ipswich had 18. So 27, just the 27 shots in the game. 7 of those shots from Charlton were on target. 5 of Ipswich's were on target. 4 yellow cards to Ipswich's 5. Just all the stats are completely ludicrous, not least the one at the top, which is the goals. What a game. And I think
certainly our game of the season.
Yes, absolutely. And apologies to the other games of the season, of which 2 of them are, well, another one's an Ipswich game. So there you go. But the Accrington Burton, obviously 4 goals apiece is equally as tremendous in terms of a scoreline, but just the nature of it. And yeah, just completely ridiculous. And if you think about it, Jack, and sorry, Ipswich fans, to bring this back to you, but if that had finished the way that everyone was expecting it to, with Ipswich being 4-2 up on 94 minutes, might have just got them the title on another day. Who knows? But yeah, there we go. Obviously, you'd have to be... I think Plymouth went on and won it by 3 points at the end anyway, didn't they? The League One title. But anyway, you've got to factor these things in, and it's kind of the if, buts and maybes, but that could have contributed to a slightly different end to the outcome of the League One season. But nonetheless, 29th of October was the day that our game of the season happened, and I think it is a worthy winner, Jack.
Definitely. 4-4 between Charlton and Ipswich wins our game of the season. So finally, there's an asterisk next to this award because
we're going to upset people.
Yeah, this probably isn't very clever. So we thought, well, end of the season, these are going slowly into the summer away. Not really we're watching at the end more. They want to hear about player of the season. We went with bottle of the season. I know. So if you're one that gets really sensitive about your football club, just click off now. Just leave a like, subscribe, and we'll see you. Well, we've got a bit more content coming with you with the playoffs and things like that, but just leave this one, go to the next one, because this is quite a sensitive one. Bottle of the season. Who has bottled it? Who was in a position where you were like, they can't mess this up, and they go and mess it up? Who was there where they would just sort of give them the title, they can't mess this up, give them the title? Who am I talking? I just don't know who I'm talking about. Yeah, Sheffield Wednesday. Sorry, boys. Sorry to Sheffield Wednesday because, the videos are there. People are calling me a jinx. In fact, I've had to say that they're not going to win the game against Peterborough on my predictions and preview for the playoffs because they've said I can't ever predict them to win a game again because of the way this season has gone for them. So, I'm not popular at Sheffield Wednesday. I still think, though, and I think you could go up. That's all I'll say. But you could have gone up with a title.
That. Come on.
You could have got up with a title. It looked like it was going to definitely be top two. And of course, you ended up finishing in third. There are other candidates before we come back to Wednesday, but believe it or not, they are who we've gone with. Pompey and Wycombe were the other ones. Pompey, of course, Tom. In fact, Pompey, I'll leave to you. I'll come to Wycombe and then we'll come back to Portsmouth with you. Wycombe, we said half pint with Wycombe. We've given them a half pint because we're a half bottle, if you like, sort of. Someone's drank half a bottle, they passed it over to Wycombe for the other bit because it's not a complete and utter bottle. Of course, Gareth Ainsworth led the football club for QPR, but they were still in contention for a top 6 finish. Bloomfield came in, hasn't really set the world alight, and they have fallen away. In the end, weren't really ever in the shout for top 6. So Wycombe, we're not going to give them the full bottle, just half a one. Pompey, to you, Tom. You sort of said that Pompey should be in there because of the early aspects of the season. Tom, they're not going to win it, but they certainly should be named and shamed.
Named and shamed very much so. It's not really a bottle. Maybe it's a downfall would probably be the better way to describe it. But to be top of the league and in quite a healthy position in the division, I think deserves a little bit of a mention for this award. But ultimately, Jack, can I just say, before we finally go, we agree on such and such, you cannot legislate as a Sheffield Wednesday fan or player or manager to be 96 points, beyond 96 points, and not win the title or get automatically promoted.
It's harsh.
It's been a long time since that's happened, so it is harsh.
Yeah, but Wednesday, I'm sorry, but we've got to give someone the award. We've given them the bottle of the season Wednesday. And of course, like you say, they're 96 points. They still might go through the playoffs, as much as I'm joking there. But of course, I won't put any predictions on there.
They deserve to, don't they? They deserve to.
I think the top 3 definitely do. They really, really do. Right then, that is the end of our awards show. It's been really good fun. And Tom, we can end the minute left we've got on this Zoom call that we're doing this on to say that it's been a fantastic season for us personally in terms of what we've done here on the podcast, here on your channel, or there on your channel if you like. I've been on there a couple of times. We've had some really, really good fun. And we sort of followed a season that for us individually, everyone would go, I bet you hated the season. But in a weird way, I don't know about you, I enjoyed it. I really, really did enjoy it. It was one of those where, not fully enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it as much as I could have done considering the situation Oxford found themselves in. But I did really enjoy following it and creating content with you across the season. We did one. I remember sending the text, can we do one? It was the first title was what we learned from the opening month in League One. And you said me straight after, this has to be a series. And we made it a series. We've done it every single month since then. It's worked really well. And we can say, I think we have sort of teased it in other episodes, but we can say it here now. They will be returning next season, which we're really, really excited about. They've gone down really well. You know, people, of course, would have their opinions in the comment section. We've always been very open and honest about that, and that is part of the discussion. But yeah, we've had really good fun. Thank you very, very much. Please do leave a like and subscribe. Have a great summer from both of us. Of course, still content to come on here, but generally, we'll see you all very, very soon. It's the last one of the season. Thank you very much. Take care. Have a good summer.